Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Mike Reading here. Welcome back to another toy review by yours truly, and to part two of my Beyblade Burst Ultimate Collection toy review. Or just Ultimate Beyblade Collection review in general. So last time, if you haven't seen part one, which I will drop a link in the description below so you can watch part one, we left off on Exceed Evil Eyes, where we last left off. So now we're going to continue on with the next Beyblade here. So first I'm going to grab a charger real quick, because last time my phone almost died. So this time I'm actually going to play it smart here and actually just plug in a charger. And we are going to get into this review. So let me just plug my phone in and we're good. Okay. Starting off again from where we left off. First off for part two, we're going to start with the first left spin Beyblade ever released for Beyblade Burst. That being Lost Longinus. Now this Beyblade is pretty cool. Really do like this one. What's going on, Cerulean, Pixie Claps, and Zen22? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to today's review. So again, if you haven't seen part one, I will drop a link, or you can always just check if you're on my Discord, you can always check the announcements page, or not the announcements page, the stream updates page, as I will have it there too. So anyways, we're looking at Lost Longinus here. As we can see, he is obviously a dragon, left spinning dragon. Now Longinus actually is, now in terms of the mythological Longinus, Longinus was actually a one of the soldiers in the story of the birth of Jesus Christ, where basically he basically put in several stab wounds into Jesus when he was crucified. So that's what he's actually based on, is that character from that story. Though in this, obviously here he is depicted as a dragon instead, for obvious reasons, because of the religious connotations. But still, he does still carry some of the parts from that story in the form of the spears that could maybe allude to this part of the mythology I just explained, where again Longinus had a spear, and well, yeah, I already explained. So yeah, there we go. So we have the metal on him as well, which this was the first Beyblade to include metal on the layers, which is really cool. Now on top of this, he was the first and only left spin Beyblade, so he was kind of broken. Now, interestingly, Longinus kind of contradicts what I explained in the last video, where Spriggan and Valkyrie were kind of rivals, as towards the end of the season, it actually shifted, and now Volt kind of has multiple rivals, because now Spriggan's kind of still his rival, but also kind of isn't, and now it's more shifted between Valkyrie and Longinus are now kind of the rival Beyblades, now, and towards the end of Season 1, so kind of interesting. So there we have Lost Longinus there. This is Japanese version. Very nice. And then we get the pieces here, which we have the 9 disc. As you can see, 9 has obviously 9 different spikes on it, which really help with attack and also help with left and right spin. As right spin, these 9 spikes can be used to sort of defend against attacks from below, and for Longinus, these can act as an extra layer of attack, because if you attack from below, you're gonna get cut up with these 9 different spikes. So kind of cool, the 9 disc, and of course for Japan it is painted, which is wonderful. And we get the spiral driver, which the spiral driver is pretty cool, because we get this little start tip, and it makes it super aggressive. On top of that, it's super noisy in the stadium. He is absolutely awesome Beyblade. And also on the bottom of the driver, I forgot to mention, it has this little spiral kind of detail. Hang on, let me see if I can pick it up on the camera. Come on, pick up. There we go. So yeah, it's these 9 that little spiral thing. So pretty cool. That is Lost Longinus. Very, very cool Beyblade. Really do like the look of them. So, and yes, to answer that, Zen22, yes, I am back. Yes. So, it is awesome that I am back. I'm not dead. Anyway, so from Los Longinus, of course, because of just how popular he was, obviously he got an evolution in the God Layer system in the form of Nightmare Longinus, as we're about to see right now. Nightmare Longinus actually really changed up the burst system a little bit, being the first Beyblade to not include a disc. So he was the first to do that, but he does have the ability to incorporate frames. God, excuse me. That was gross. Anyway, sorry, I just came back from my dinner, actually, is why. Is actually why this video came out the way it did. So, you thought I died. Don't worry, I'm not dead. Not even close. So, as we can see with Longinus and Nightmare Longinus, we can see that there are now 2 extra heads here. Now, these 2 heads here and here actually function in the gimmick of this layer. That being that the heads move. So when it bursts, when it's getting closer to bursting, the heads will move like so. As you guys can see, as I twist to the driver, as you can see right there, the heads will move. Now, the more the heads move, the more the metal will be shifted, actually making Longinus stronger up until it bursts. So the more you hit it, the stronger it gets, is the idea. So there you have Nightmare Longinus. There's no disc again with this. It's only the layer. And then we get the driver here. This is Destroy. Also, welcome Abby to the part 2 of the video. So as you can see with Destroy, it has this little free spinning disc here with these little jagged teeth-like things. Now, Destroy's gimmick is that when it's knocked over, the disc will somewhat move and adjust it, basically giving Longinus a recovery function, just like Revolve that we saw on Rising Ragnarok. So really cool to see that this sort of gimmick is still relevant even in Season 2. Hey, what's going on, Musav Khan? Welcome to the stream. Since you are new, I will just say, since I can't actually post the rules here, that basically it's a family-friendly channel, so no cursing, none of that. No swearing, no bad language, none of that. But, welcome to the channel, and I hope you're enjoying the video so far. So, here you have Nightmare Longinus. Now, next up here, we got another evolution from the same family, which we got in the Cho Z system, that being Bloody Longinus. Now, this name is kind of confusing because there is nothing remotely blood related to this Longinus, but cool name, I guess. So there you have Bloody Longinus, and for comparison, here we have Nightmare above. So Bloody Longinus, the difference with this one is that now it has 5 metal heads here. Actually, no, the 4 out here are metal, but this one's actually just painted plastic. So, and the 5 heads is actually really nice because it actually represents, I actually just actually said it wrong earlier in the mythology of Longinus, is that in the, Christian mythology, that actually it was 5 stab wounds that was given to Jesus during his crucifixion. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there, which actually helps with tying into that bit of mythology. Of course, for the obvious religious connotations, Longinus stayed the name, but now instead of being obviously the soldier that was responsible for Jesus' death, now it has just been changed to a dragon. So they have Bloody Longinus, and I love this design a lot. And again, unlike Nightmare, it's going back to having discs again, so we get the 13 disc in this case. Not much to say about 13, except that it's kind of spiky looking, so that's nice. And we get an upgrade to the, well, not really an upgrade, but like an evolution, I would say, of the Spiral driver in the form of the Jolt driver. Now, Spiral and Jolt look very, very similar. So, as you guys can see, they're very, very, very similar. The major difference is here, though, is that these little spikes on here, like this little detail here, is now more prominent. And now these are actually rubber. And instead of the stroke tip being plastic, it's now rubber, which makes Bloody Longinus much, much faster. So, really, really cool Beyblade. Really cool stuff. Really love Bloody Longinus. I think he's probably one of my favorite Longinuses ever released by Takara Tomy and Hasbro, respectively. However, of course, they had to one-up it in GT with this evolution that I just love to death. That being Zwei Longinus. Now, no, I did not just sneeze. That's actually the name, is Zwei Longinus. Now, it's actually spelled out Z-W-E-I, but it's pronounced Zwei, like the W being a V. So, really, really cool. So, Zwei Longinus is, the Zwei in its name actually comes from the German word Zwei, which means two, which is a reference to the two massive dragon heads on this layer. Which, as you can see, the dragon heads are all metal. They're all metal. That's right. Instead of having 4 dragon heads like on its previous evolution, we now have 2 massive dragon heads, which these things do massive damage. I mean, seriously, this thing can just smash Beyblades to pieces. He's amazing. So, really, really cool. So, and on top of this, the dragon heads, instead of one dragon head being gold in the middle like Bloody, now it has 2 golden dragon heads in the middle, which looks so cool. And from an angle, they actually look pretty terrifying. I mean, seriously, would you want to go into battle against that? I don't think so. But still, nonetheless, I love this Beyblade so much. It's so awesome. And the weight on the inside, I believe, is called, Metsu. I believe that's what it's called. Metsu is the weight, which definitely helps with the dragon heads, as it adds a little bit extra weight to these, giving them an extra oomph when it's smacking into you. So, really cool Beyblade part there. Next, we have the disc here, which is called Drake. Now, Drake is pretty cool, because Drake, unlike the other discs that we got in the past, like 9 and 13, this actually it influences the dragon design. As you guys can see on the top, there is a dragon head up there with its mouth open and with some sharp, jagged claws coming out of the metal. It looks so awesome. I love this disc so much because it so captures that dragon feel that Longinus so desperately needed. My God, because even the disc now is a dragon, which is awesome. And on top of that, we get a brand new driver here, and actually my first of these style drivers, Spiral Dash. So Spiral Dash, the Dash drivers first came out in Cho-Z. The Dash drivers, basically their function is to make older drivers usable again. So basically, as you guys can see on the inside of this driver, we have a golden spring. Now, no, that's not real gold, obviously, because that would be expensive, obviously. But it's painted gold. But this spring is extra tight. Basically, this and it has a red cap on it too to kind of enforce this idea. So the whole thing with the Dash driver is basically it makes it again super tight and even harder to burst. I mean, listen to the clicks of this thing. Now, those clicks are, I don't know if the camera's mic is catching it, but they are loud. The clicks on this thing are loud. And I have to use both hands to actually get this thing to open because it's that tight. So, Zwei Longinus is pretty overpowered and was definitely one of the most powerful GT bays released at its time. And just like the Longinuses before, it is an attack type. So, obviously. So next up here is kind of an interesting one. So during the releases of the dual layer system and even upwards to the GT system, we've gotten some classic remakes of older Beyblades. So this is one of them. This is Dracil. Dracil is one of the oldest, not oldest, but one of the old Beyblades that was remade. Now, again, a little history lesson for you guys is that Beyblade's been around for many years. Again, going far back as the year 2000. Yeah, that's how old these things are. And this is from what's referred to fondly by fans as the plastic generation, respectively. Because back then, Beyblades were made of plastic, and they had all kinds of different things. They had attack rings, they had engine gears, they had all kinds of stuff. This is a more simplified version, and is obviously inspired by the original Dracil. So you guys can see Dracil here is based on, well, a dragon, respectively. And is one of the, what was it called? It was based on one of the, oh God. It's actually, well, Drasil actually, now I think about it, is actually based on a ancient type of tortoise, I believe. And a dragon, if I remember correctly. And I know it was one of the 4 mystical beast Beyblades from that generation. So, again, I'm not too keen on the plastic generation, so if I messed any of that up, please do correct me in the comments, because I don't know very much about plastic generation. So, I do apologize. But still, Drasil looks pretty cool. As you can see on his bit chip, we can see there, or molded in bit chip, we can see the Drasil bit beast there. I don't know if you guys can see it. Oh, God, let's see if I'll pick it up. There we go, perfect. There is Drasil's Bit Beast. As you guys can see, the little dragon reaching out with its claw. Looks pretty cool. I like it. But again, because it's a burst layer, it's really hard to see. So I'm sorry if you guys couldn't see that. But just like on Kirbyus, we got the central disc again. Not going to say much about this because I already said it in the first part. So, yeah. Not much to say. And not much to say either on Press, except it's a recolor. Nice to see. And all in all, this is a really cool Beyblade to see. I'm glad that they're bringing back some of the nostalgia of the classic Beyblade systems, back before we got Burst and its more simplified sort of style. So now going backwards to the God system here, next up we're going to take a look at Twin Nemesis. So this is Twin Nemesis, also known in Hasbro as Twin Noctimus, but for simplicity's sake, I'm going to refer to it as Twin Nemesis throughout the rest of the review here segment. So excuse me, because I think I got a sneeze coming on. Actually, scratch that. I think I'm fine. Although it's probably going to come back to bite me later. Anyway, so here we have Twin Nemesis here in its Japanese release. And pretty cool looking Beyblade. And it is obviously based on, well, not obviously, it is based on Nemesis. Nemesis in Greek mythology was a female goddess of balance. But in this one, she is instead depicted as a hammer-wielding gladiator that has these twin hammers that it uses to beat its opponents. To death. So kind of cool looking Beyblade though. Really does look nice. As you guys can kind of see the gladiator face down there. As you guys can see with its ominous blue eyes staring at you. Looks pretty cool. Now this Beyblade has 2 different modes. So right now it's in its upper mode. But if we take these tabs on the back, push them down, and then twist the layer around, we get the Smash Mode. Yeah, so Smash Mode now has these gold accents, and is now these plastic points instead of like before on Upper Mode, which I'm going to get it back in there, where instead of these points spinning and making the opponent get unstable by hitting these slants right here, making them get unstable, now they function as more as like a smasher, kind of hitting the opponent hard with these long plastic protrusions or recoil points. So pretty cool. I like Twin Nemesis's gimmick. It's very simple, but it changes it up significantly from its between forms. So there you have the layer of Twin Nemesis. Next we have the disc and the frame, which here we get the 3 disc, which as you can see, these kind of protrusions are shaped like number 3 respectively. So, and to answer your question real quick, Musab, I am planning to get Rage Longinus and the rest of the Super King Beyblades soon. As soon as COVID-19 gets out of the way, I can do that. But I'm glad to see you're a Beyblade fan, and welcome to the channel. So, welcome to the channel again. So, there are the 3 discs there. Next, we're going to look at the frame of this. The frame we get in this is called Hit. Now, Hit is pretty self-explanatory. You got the round sort of shape in this kind of pink color, and there's only one little notch here. And this little notch is designed to basically act as like a little, striker kind of, how it kind of like spins and it's supposed to kind of like hit the opponent when it's hit from below. It kind of acts as like a defensive countermeasure. But, of course, other frames like Vortex, Wall, and even, what's the other one? Lift, which you guys will see later with another Beyblade, what's its name right now? Vice Leopard, you guys will see that, of how that works. So pretty cool, 3 and Hit. And also, with this release of Twin Nemesis, we get Ultimate Reboot. Now, Ultimate Reboot is the upgrade of Reboot. So unlike the original Reboot, which you guys can see right here, Ultimate Reboot now has a changed design and now introduces rubber to the design. Ultimate Reboot functions the same way, where it has two plastic counterweights that open up to reveal a plastic insert, but the insert can now go it can now go a significant height above the rubber. But when it slows down, because of the shaping of it, it actually goes in quicker than a reboot, where it snaps in real quick, and now reveals the rubber tip, which makes it go, obviously because it's rubber, extremely quick. This thing can do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, due to how the spring works in Ultimate Reboot, it is rather weak. However, there is a dash upgrade you can get separately that can improve it immensely. So nice to see this Beyblade. Really do like this release of Twin Nemesis. And I believe he's one of the last God Layer system Beyblades to be launched for the system. So next we're going to take a look at recolors here, which, two recolors, which is Spriggan again. So we have Spriggan recolor. And in this one we also get the heavy and defensive drivers, the heavy and defense driver as the parts there. Again, not going to say much about these because we already seen these with Kirbyus and with, we've seen the driver with Kirbyus and we've seen the disc with Guardian Kirbyus and we've also seen it with Ragnarok. So not going to say much on that, but still nice to see the layer recolor. And then next we're going to look at Storm Spriggan, which again, the same parts as on the original Storm Spriggan, except now it's just a different color. So there you go. Next up, we're going to take a look at a stamina type, again, released from Season 1, which is Horsude. Now, Horsude is based on Horus, which was, or in this, actually, it's actually based on, it could technically be interpreted as two different guys. It could be interpreted as Ra, which was the god of the sun, or Horus, who I believe Horus was the god of death, I'm fairly certain. He had something to relate with death of some kind. So there you have Horus there, or Horsude. So Horsude is pretty, nothing really much to say about him except as an H down there for Horsude. You got the bird wings, which is respective of Horus and or Ra, and then you got the bird head there as well. Which I don't know if the camera's gonna pick it up really well. Hang on, let me take off the parts real quick here. And let me see if you guys can see. Yeah, you can see the bird head there. There we go. Perfect shot of the bird head. Really nice. And again, the parts we're just going to briefly look over. So we get Spread again, that we've seen on Spriggan. And we get Edge that we've seen on... excuse me. Exceed Evil Eye. We've seen it on that guy. So, which he's right there, actually. There he is right there. So, there you go. That is Horsude. Now, of course, he's gotten an evolution. And sadly, this is his only evolution that we've gotten as of now, which is Holy Horsude. Now, as you guys can see, unlike the original Horsude, Holy Horsude now features more plumage than it did on the original. And now features these sort of Egyptian sigils on the side of the Beyblade, which looks kind of cool. And we also get this H in the middle for Horsude. And the bird head is pretty much exactly the same as on regular Horsude, as you guys may or may not see. There we go. Now you can see the bird head. Pretty much the same. Except with minor changes. And then we get the new upper disc. Now, upper doesn't do very much, except that it has this elliptical kind of design that's supposed to help with stamina, because obviously it's a stamina type. So, it's supposed to help with air currents, that's a kind of a theme with Beyblade Burst, is air currents, trying to channel the air to help it spin faster, but in practice, it does barely anything. Nice idea, but again, kind of poor execution. Next, we get the claw driver, which I was talking about before, what was it? What was the Beyblade that had the free spinning part on the driver? I don't remember what it was at the moment. Hang on. I have to remember what it was. Oh, boy. I don't remember. Oh, yeah, it was with, what was it? Blitz. Yeah. Which basically was claw and a disc. So, again, just like Blitz that we've seen in with Slash Valkyrie over here, where these parts, remember, that could be lifted up? Yeah, these parts do that pretty much the exact same. Where when it spins, these parts will move. These little claws will flip upwards, basically creating a second layer of defense to the Beyblade. And on top of it has a sharp point on it as well that helps with retaining spin and keeping and holding its position in the stadium. And as you can see, it does have a little C there for claw on the driver. Yep, there we go. It's picking it up. There we go. There's the C for claw. So very, very nice. I do like the look of this particular version of Horsuit. I do have a recolor of this as well, so which you guys will see later. Next, we're going to take on to this other Beyblade, which was originally released in a multi-pack in Japan, but was released as a starter here in the US, with minor part changes. That being Psychic Phantom. I really love the name of this, Psychic Phantom, which in the US name, its name is changed to Phrenic Phantasis. But obviously, I'm going to call it Psychic Phantom for the rest of the review because it is obviously, it's a Japanese name and it's just obviously easier to pronounce than Phrenic Phantasis. See, I'm already having a hard time pronouncing it. But you can see, Psychic Phantom is based off of a phantom or a ghost. As you guys can see, you have the ghost heads on the top and the bottom, which is further influenced by the Beast, which is a pair of ghosts that attack the opposing Beyblade. Now, this never appeared in the anime and only appeared in the toy line, but it's still a really cool Beyblade Psychic Phantom. And this is also a stamina type Psychic Phantom. So pretty cool Beyblade layer there. Next, we get the disc, which is Polish. Now, Polish functions pretty similarly to like Revolve and such, where it has this roundish shape and this metal in the plastic. And basically, the plastic is supposed to help as a recovery system because of its round shape to help it recover spin and to have a life after death. And after it's done with its spinning after a while. So I do like that it helps to keep the Beyblade spinning longer. On top of it, it just is a very nice looking part with the metallic silver the natural metallic silver in the metal meshing with the black of the plastic here. Then lastly, we get Edge for this release, which the original came with a driver called Weight. But we'll look at that later with Zillion Zeus, who's coming up pretty soon. So you guys will see it with that. So that was the original parts, was at Polish and Weight. But in this one, it gets Edge for Hasbro. So nice to see Psychic Phantom. Again, kind of crazy designs. That's why I love the early Beyblade designs for this generation of Beyblade, because they got really experimental with like phantoms and Valkyries and snakes and all kinds of different designs. They just went wild with some of these designs. That's why I love Burst so much, not only because of the system, because generally the Beyblades look cool, but also just because of how wild and crazy they got with some of the designs. I mean, my god. Now, next up here is a really cool looking attack type that was, again, released along the first season of Beyblade Burst, that being Odin. So Odin is respectively based off of Odin from Greek mythology, and Odin also had a hand in making the Valkyries. So kind of interesting, although in the show they never really build on this. But kind of a cool idea nonetheless that they released Odin. So Odin, again, has this very elliptical kind of ovular design with these little spikes on it and these kind of shuriken design. And if you can look at the top here, you can actually see Odin's face up there. I don't know if the camera's got to pick it up, but there it is, there's Odin's face right there. Pretty cool design there. Now, again, with this Beyblade, we do see a return to the central disc, and because it is kind of weak, I had to super glue it, as with Valkyrie and Spriggan. Again, just because of how bad it is in terms of the slopes over the years of owning this. And the driver we got here is Blow. Now, Blow basically functions the same way as Excel, except that the plastic sort of, like the sort of size and the sort of, how do I say this? The surface area, that's what we're looking for. Surface area of the plastic is smaller, so it's supposed to give it more stamina and it's supposed to make it so that way it can get closer to the stadium center, the center of the stadium, when it is launched because of its aggressive movement. So, pretty interesting Blow. And a very interesting Beyblade in general, Odin. Now, next we got an evolution, which is known simply as Obelisk Odin. So, my Japanese release has a couple of missing sticker apps. There's supposed to be sticker apps in the center, and supposed to be 2 little gems on the swords. But nonetheless, I'm thinking about replacing this one anyway, because of just how poor condition this one's in, since I've owned it. But anyway, that is Obelisk Odin there, and with comparison to Odin, you can see how different the 2 designs really are. So, again, Odin here has these little swords now, with these little kind of sigils on them, or kind of glyphs. I don't know if you can see that, but there's like little glyphs on the swords there. This looks pretty cool. And these swords are its main point of contact, and this was one of the most powerful attack types, again, of the dual layer system. My god, this thing was a beast. And in this, we get, obviously, Obelisk Odin. Then we get the disc here, which is triple. Now, triple has these little weights here, located here, here, and here, that actually, when paired with, like, the Valkyrie layer, can actually help bolster the attack power of those Beyblades. So, kind of interesting, the triple disc. And it's actually spelled different than you think it would be spelled. It's actually spelled Tripple instead of how you would think triple would be spelled. So kind of interesting that they kind of fancied up the naming of that disc. And then here we also get the Extreme Driver, which is spelled with an X. The E is silent. So it's just Extreme. So Extreme, the whole gimmick of this driver is that it has a hole in there, and this is all rubber. Basically, this is supposed to make it similar to Blow to help retain stamina and help to bolster its attack power at the same time, and in practice, it does work really well. And we get in this nice purplish kind of lavender color on Obelisk Odin. And again, the teeth on this are actually not too bad, but again, because it's so outclassed now, it basically, it's not too great. Now, surprisingly in GT, we got an evolution of this, which I don't have, called Knockout Odin, which is kind of crazy that we even got an evolution for it at all. But again, I do not have it because it was released in a random layer booster. So hopefully one day I will get my hands on a Knockout Odin to review. But it is a really cool Beyblade, Knockout Odin. It's evolution. So moving on from that, we're moving on to another smaller kind of lineage, is the Zeus line, starting with its first evolution, Zillion Zeus. Now, Zillion Zeus is kind of an interesting Beyblade. Now, obviously, Zillion Zeus is based off of Zeus, who was the god of lightning in mythology. And in the God of War series, I don't know if this is actually realistic to mythology, but he was also king of the gods. So kind of interesting, Zillion Zeus. And as you guys can see, you can kind of see Zeus's face there with his kind of lightning beard coming off of him, which does look kind of cool. But the real cool gimmick behind Zillion Zeus's lair is, I don't know if you guys have noticed these metal ball slots here. Now, these metal balls move around, as you guys can see. Now, these metal balls will fly outwards similar to a flywheel when it's launched, basically bolstering the spin power of the Beyblade. Now, on the Japanese version of Zillion Zeus, this Beyblade can spin for, I believe, a solid 2 to 4 minutes on a spin. It's actually kind of crazy how long this Beyblade could spin. And also, this was the only Beyblade at the time that could actually beat the mighty Los Longinus. It was a pretty big deal in the dual layer system. So very nice to see Zillion Zeus there. Next, we get the Infinity Disc, which is based on the Infinity Band, or the Mobius band, which is basically a band that basically goes around forever. And surprisingly, as wonky as this disc is, or wobbly looking it actually has surprisingly good stamina, the Infinity Disc. So very, very nice disc, very interesting design on the Mobius band, or Mobius ring. So really cool to see. Then lastly, we got the weight driver that I was talking about with Psychic Phantom. So the weight driver has this metal ball here, which is not only the main point that it spins on, but also helps with retaining stamina. And unlike other drivers, this never wears out because it is metal. So very nice to see there with Zillion Zeus. Oh god, my sneeze is coming back. Excuse me, guys. I told you it was going to come back to bite me later. Now, moving on to its evolution in the God Layer system, which shocked me at least, is its evolution that we got in the form of Galaxy Zeus. Yeah, this is Galaxy Zeus. So for comparison real quick, we have Zillion Zeus, and you can see a significant difference between the two. Now back to Galaxy Zeus, just by itself, Galaxy Zeus is actually very interesting, as the layer again has the weight gimmick, but instead of having one ball, it has 4. So as you guys can see, right there, those little silver bits, those are metal balls there. And there are 2 for each of these little golden claw-looking shapes on the layer. And they basically function the same way. Basically flying out like a flywheel when it spins. And because there's 4 metal balls instead of 2, it now can spin even longer than its prior version. The only problem with this one that can really stay for the layer is that, as nice of an upgrade as it is, the teeth on it are terrible. My god, this thing is bad. This thing bursts like nothing. This thing is trash, honestly, nowadays. But thankfully, because it got an evolution to its, or an upgrade to its driver, thankfully, it actually is a lot better now than it was on its initial release. So here we can also see the 4-disc, like we saw in Ragnarok in part 1. And this time it's painted red. And as you can see, it has these little shapes that are shaped like the number 4 on the sides. And we can also see an etched in 4 on the little notches there. Really cool to see. And also in this, we get the meteor frame. And I like the meteor frame here, as it's a nice blood red color. Nice little sigils on the back of these kind of like energy orbs. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. Let's see if it'll pick it up. There we go. You guys can see little energy orbs surrounding these little claws. It looks pretty cool. I like this combo there for Meteor. Now I think the driver is really kind of interesting as well. The driver is called Planet. Yeah, they named the driver after, well, the things in space, planets. So the planet driver, as you guys may or may not be seeing right now as I'm moving it around, it has these little metal balls on the inside of the driver. Now these metal balls, when they fly outwards, like so, wait, let's see if I can get it right there. Yeah, there we go. Like so, when they fly out like that, these things can help with balance, as just like the metal balls on the layer, these are an extra way of balancing the Beyblade out. And even though as wonky as the slots are that they move around in, this actually helps out Galaxy Zeus's balance significantly well for a stamina type. Not to mention it makes it spin that much longer because of those metal balls. And more interestingly enough as well, we also get a metal ball in the center, which is also free spinning. It freely moves around the inner little casing it's in. So a very interesting driver, Planet. And Planet also has this neat little insignia on the top of it as well. As you guys can see, that's kind of showing off the metal ball gimmick on Planet. So really cool driver. I do like it. And they're very cool Beyblade in general, because actually it doesn't really technically it doesn't even have 4 balls. It has 6 of them. Two on the top there, and then 2 on the bottom. So actually it has 6 metal balls, which makes this guy really, really stable. My god, for a stamina type, it is very stable. So that is Galaxy Zeus. Now going backwards again to the dual layer system, we're going to take a look next at Quad Quetzalcoatl. Now Quad Quetzalcoatl is based off of the Quetzalcoatl, which is a Mayan deity that represented the sky, the earth, and the heavens and the earth, as well as nature. So really cool thing. There was a winged serpent. Now, if you guys can't see there, you actually can see the Quetzalcoatl's head at the top, with its sharp, piercing eyes, sharp, deadly fangs, and its little tongue poking out there. And then also, which you can't really see on this particular version, because I do have a recolor that we'll look at later. It has, well, 2 recolors we're going to look at later. Is that this Beyblade has this little snake body going around that curls into this sharp tail at the bottom as well, which is pretty cool. And then these outer parts are supposed to represent the Quetzalcoatl's wings. So a very nice design there on Quad Quetzalcoatl. And we got this little stylized Q for Quetzalcoatl. Now, getting this initially was pretty difficult because it was released in a random booster, but of course Hasbro released it as a starter, which is great. Taking it apart, we're going to look at the disc here. which is called Jerk. That's literally what this is called. This is called Jerk. No, I'm not being mean to you guys. That's actually what it's called. It's called the Jerk disc. So the Jerk disc has this little like plastic outer part, which this whole part is supposed to actually kind of move a little bit, like you guys can see right there. It kind of moves. So this is supposed to act as like a layer of defense, because the Beyblade would theoretically hit this part of Jerk and it would kind of bounce off and kind of deflect the attack. That's the whole point of the Jerk disc. So pretty cool. Nice little metal insert with a plastic ring going around. So do like the Jerk disc. Then lastly, we're going to take a brief look at the press driver, which does return in this nice orange color. Nice to see the press driver again. But very cool defense type. And because of its tight slopes and its round shape, it was one of the more top tier defense types of the dual layer system. So good on you, Quackatsukoto. Good on you. You beat out Kirbyus for being the most powerful defense type of your time. So next up here, we gotta take a look at another stamina type here, which does have an evolution that I just, for some reason, couldn't get a hold of. However, I will show its original version here because I have it to show on review here. That being Yggdrasil. So Yggdrasil, again from the Burst system, is based off of Yggdrasil, which is the tree that connects heaven and hell in I believe it's Greek mythology. I'm pretty sure it's Greek. No, it's Norse mythology. I'm sorry. So that's what Yggdrasil was a giant tree. And in this case, it is a giant tree, but it's also been interpreted as kind of like a dragon kind of thing as well. So as you guys can see, the kind of tree nature-like design on the inside here of like the dragon heads here. So we have like one there, and then we got like this kind of tree insignia going on in the middle. And it kind of expands out into some kind of leafages going around the outside of the Beyblade. So pretty cool looking Yggdrasil. And then we also get a disc in here, obviously, the ring disc. The ring disc. So really cool that we get it in this one. This originally came out in a Beyblade called Unicorn, but we're going to look at that one later. Basically the whole point of this one is basically it's a heavy metal ring that's supposed to help with stamina and supposed to help with weight distribution. So nice to see the ring disc. And lastly, we get the edge driver, which we've seen before. Just in orange, nice to see. Now, the original one actually came with a driver called Gyro, which we're going to see later on a Beyblade called Chaos. So, but yeah, really nice to see this Beyblade anyway in the Burst system. Now, again, jumping back to the dual-layer system, we got a pretty neat-looking attack type here, which is in the form of this Beyblade, Beast Behemoth. Now, Beast Behemoth is obviously based off of a behemoth, or just which the behemoths were, I believe, they were in many different mythologies, behemoths, but basically in this interpretation of the behemoth, it's interpreted as a giant monster with 3 horns, wings, claws. It's basically like a big chimera kind of thing, is what it's interpreted as, even though if you looked at this thing at first, you would think it's some kind of crystalline golem, but it sadly is not. It's a 3-horned chimera monster is what the beast is based on. So nice to see Beast Behemoth there with the different claws and spikes, as you guys can see. Looks pretty fearsome. And you get a little bee in the middle of the beast's mouth for Beast Behemoth. So nice to see. And then again, we see the heavy disc like we saw before. It's nice to see that returning. And again, new driver in this one called Hold. Now, Hold is a pretty unique looking driver because it has these little X kind of configuration in the plastic. And the tip here kind of functions similar to, I can only compare it to like a C stick on a 3DS. So it kind of like moves around here, like it's stiff, but it kind of wiggles around. And the whole point of Hold is that it has the little spikes which kind of grip into the stadium. And then you got the flat tip which adds some acceleration, basically making this Beyblade super aggressive in the stadium. And it is really nice. But later on, we're going to see it with the Japanese version as well, which you guys have already seen in the, you OGs may have seen in my Beast Behemoth Heavy Hold Japanese release review that I did a while back. So, when I was still early on into these tour reviews. So, next up here, we're going to take a look at Now, this Beyblade is actually kind of interesting because this is actually used by the main character's brother in the anime. That being Trident. Now, Trident is obviously based off of a trident, which was used by Poseidon, the god of the sea in Greek mythology, and the trident was basically a giant pitchfork. So, and in this interpretation of it, it's actually interpreted as some kind of giant humanoid wearing armor, and it's wielding this, and it wields the trident and like stabs it into its opponents. So, kind of cool design of this Beyblade. As you guys can see like the beast face in there with its eyes staring at you. And at the top you can see the trident pitchfork. I don't know if you guys can see that, but you can see the 3-pronged pitchfork at the top. With more of the little pitchfork designs going around here with like the triple kind of spikes going around. And it is a stamina type, by the way. Next we can see the heavy disc here. And we can also see the claw driver return in a nice black color. So nice to see. Trident Heavy Claw, THC. Really cool stuff. So, and also in the Godler system, we got an evolution of this as well. I sadly do not have the Takara version to show you guys. However, I do have the Hasbro version. And this is Screw Trident. There we go. Screw Trident in the Godler system. Well, actually, yeah, it came on... Well, actually, in terms of the anime, it premiered in Show Z, but it was introduced later on in the Godler system. So nice to see this Beyblade return with an evolution. Now, unlike its Takara Tomy counterpart, there is a gimmick to this, where there would be rubber on the inside of the Beyblade here, and these parts would kind of mush in, kind of like a shock absorber, absorbing attacks from all directions. So kind of cool design there, of Screw Trident. So again, when I do get the Japanese version, I will compare that with this one in its own review. But I'm kind of showing it off here in its Hasbro form, for collection's sake. And in this, we also get the 8-disc, which on the Japanese, we would get the bump frame as well, which we're actually going to see with a later Beyblade here in the review called Arc Bahamut, but you guys will see that later on. And then lastly, we get a return of the Wedge Driver. This is actually its first introduction of the Wedge Driver, actually. It was in the Godler system, but then was later adapted and used by Crash Ragnarok in the Cho-Z system. So nice to see. So there you have Screw Trident. And just like its previous version that we saw on Crash Ragnarok Hasbro, it does have the slingshot gimmick. Nice to see. So next off, we're going to look at another classic Beyblade redesign or remake. And we're going to be looking at here, what the heck is his name? This is Dronzer Spiral. There we go. Dronzer Spiral. Pretty cool looking Beyblade. Now, Dronzer here is based off of a phoenix, as you guys can see by its bit chip, which has a phoenix on it. So very, very cool there. And you guys can see the bird heads and what looks like bird wings here. So, and again, because of how poorly this was designed in Hasbro, I have super glued this because the slopes were just terrible on it. So we get to see the return of the Spread and Unite drivers respectively on this release. Now on the original, it did come with Spread, but it also came with a new driver, or actually an older driver, called the Trans Driver, which we are going to see later with Ultra Chronos, a Godlayer system Beyblade. You guys will see that later on. Now, just like in modern Beyblade, Dronzer Spiral does get an evolution in the form of Dronzer Flame here. Now, the only one I'm actually missing from this remake of Lineage is, I believe they're releasing a new one. I forget what the name of it's called. I believe it's called Dronzer V. I'm fairly certain. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we're getting an evolution in a future release called Dronzer V. So, for now, this is the one I have here, Dronzer Flame. So, Dronzer Flame, or Dronzer F, is basically an upgrade of the previous Dronzer, as we can see. And we can also see that the Phoenix kind of chip there is also changed as well. It's nice to see. You guys can pick it up. Camera can pick it up. Come on. There we go. You can see the Phoenix there. So, really, really cool. I remember... Wait, what's going on? Ethniel, welcome to the stream. Wait, you remember me? Wait, where have I heard from... Wait, do you know me from somewhere? because I don't remember you. Anyway, back to the review here. So there you have the layer there of Dronzer Flame. Now, because of how weak the slopes are on this one, I have superglued this one as well. But basically, it comes with the new Yell disc. Actually, it's not really new. It returned. It first was introduced in a Beyblade called Acid Anubis, which we're going to look at later on. But basically, it has a 5-pointed kind of metal star design on the inside of it. It is basically how this one works, as you can kind of see on the bottom there. And we also get the return of the Zeta driver as well. So, nice to see it in this nice blue color. So nice to see. Now, going upwards here to this one, I was Key Whiz. Oh, really? My God. Wow, you really are an OG. My God. Nice to see you back. I'm sorry. I haven't heard from you for a while, so that's why I forgot who you were. But, oh my God. Welcome back, buddy. To the Modern Microwave Gaming channel. My God, man. Alright, so next up we have another God Layer System Beyblade here. Oh wait, hold up. Get a little bit ahead of myself. We're going to take a look instead at, not the Beyblade I was going to review up in the corner, but the one that's at the bottom here. We're going to take a look at next here, Drain Fafnir. Now, Drain Fafnir is based off of Fafnir. And Fafnir was a dragon that was a dragon that was changed. He was actually a knight that, because of his greed, he was changed into a dragon. So that's the kind of mythology behind that. But in this case, he is just a dragon in this one. And he's actually very notable in the God Layer system because not only was he one of the most powerful left spin Beyblades ever, but also he is the first Beyblade to really emphasize spin stealing with the rubber Fs that you can see here. You see these little rubbers here that kind of shape like the letter F? Yeah, when those make contact with the Beyblade, that basically helps it steal spin because the right and left spin Beyblades kind of mesh together like gears like this. So with the rubber, it helps to steal the spin of the opposing Beyblade. So it's really cool in that sense. Now I will show you a original version, but it's a recolor, but it still has the original parts on it. So I'll show you guys that later, along with a couple other recolors of the Beyblade. In this one, we do get to see the return of the 7 and cross frame. Not gonna talk too much about these because same thing, just different colors. And then we also get the Survive driver again in yellow, which we already looked at with Ragnarok. So not gonna talk too much about those. But really cool to see Drain Fafnir there. Now, actually, before I move up to this container up here, this one there, I'm actually going to go back and actually review this Beyblade real quick. This version of Air Knight. So this is Air Knight. Now, Air Knight was released in the Cho-Z layer system and is kind of a build on the original concept of a God Beyblade that we're going to look at later called Maximum Garuda. And basically the whole gimmick behind this Beyblade is its roundish shape, which for stamina type makes it very, very difficult to burst. Now on top of that, he's one of the biggest Beyblades released. Now for comparison, here we have Valkyrie here next to it. Look at that. It just practically engulfs this thing and eats it for breakfast. This thing is just massive. You got the swords here, which on the Japanese this would be metal, but because it's Hasbro, it's plastic. And we can kind of see the knight's face in the center there, which is hard to pick out because of the black paint, but it is there. Which I'll show you guys the original Air Knight that I reviewed way back in the Slingshot system, so you guys can actually see it in better detail. But there you have that. Now, of course, because this is part of the Hypersphere system, we do get to see the 8- disc as well, which is an upgrade of the 8 disc that we saw on, what was it? What was the Beyblade we were looking at? Alright, Screw Trident, which I'm going to bring it in here so you guys can see the difference between 8 and 8-. As you guys can see, the little spikes here are now bigger and heftier. They have more metal on them than they had before, which is really cool. I'm really glad that they took the 8 disc and just upgraded it. Now this originally does come with, so this originally the original release of this was with, if I can drop the disc, it originally released with Geist Fafnir, but here we're just seeing it release here. Which, dang it, I forgot to show the evolution. We'll show it later with the recolor. And then lastly, we get the new Valor driver, which is new to the system. This is the introduction of when Hasbro did exclusive designs for the, whatchamacallit, for their system. So they did exclusive layers, they did exclusive designs, all kinds of cool stuff that you can't get through Takara Tomy or any kind of Japanese version, because it doesn't exist, because it was only released through Hasbro. But Valor Hypersphere is nice, kind of cone design. And we do get to see a little V insignia on top for Valor. So a really cool design. Really do like Air Knight. Now, sorry if I'm talking a little fast, it's just, I'm kind of getting a little ahead of myself, so I do apologize if I am talking a little fast. So, let's see, what was I going to review next? Right, we're going to be taking a look at next here, Christ Satan. Now, Christ Satan is obviously based off of Satan. I don't really need to explain who he is. He's the devil. So, pretty simple. He was the outcast from heaven. He was the angel Lucifer that was outcasted from heaven for his misdeeds. So that is who he is based on, Satan. And he actually has these round kind of things here as well, which there is an evolution that was recently released in Super King called Curse Satan. I do not have that as of yet because it was released on a random booster. However, if I could get my hands on it through Hasbro or through other means, I will definitely get it for review. But basically, it has these little rollers here that you guys can see. They kind of spin around, and the whole gimmick is that when you hit it, it's supposed to hit the roller and then kind of like roll the attack away from it. Basically, supposedly preventing a burst or any kind of slopage movement when it's hit. But in practice, it does barely anything. But it's still a nice idea for, in and of itself. So very nice to see. Now next with this Beyblade, we do get the 2-disc, which you guys cannot see because it is super glued because it is really weak. And we also get the glaive frame as well, which is nice to see. And then we also get the loop driver, which the loop driver has these little rollers on it that are supposed to help it recover spin when it gets knocked over. The rollers will strike against the stadium floor, basically preventing it from losing any kind of stamina. And Christ Satan is a defense type, so nice to see. Now, next up here, we actually got a evolution for another Beyblade, which we'll look at later, which is called Death Scyther. This is its most recent evolution, Killer Death Scyther, and this is its Japanese version. So nice to see Killer Death Scyther here. As we can see, it has this sort of, it's based on the Grim Reaper, obviously, with the scythe and the kind of ghouly face peering through this kind of, like this cloth or this kind of cowl it's wearing. And I don't really know what this clear part's supposed to be, but I've actually figured it out a little bit, I think, that it's supposed to be the Grim Reaper's ghostly tail whipping around. And then this is supposed to be its massive scythe it's wielding in its hand, which the scythe features the main god gimmick of this Beyblade, the double strike function. So basically when you launch it, this part will move back. This little blue part will shift, as you guys can see, which basically is supposed to function as a double strike because the scythe is supposed to hit with one hit being the first part of the scythe, and then the plastic part's supposed to be the double strike. In practice, it doesn't really do anything, but it's still a nice feature nonetheless that the scythe can move. So there you have Killer Death Scyther, and then here we actually get to see the 2-disc in detail here. Has these little 2 dots on it. We get to see the vortex frame return in this nice clear plastic. Not going to say much about those. And then we also get the Hunter Driver. Now the Hunter Driver functions very similar to Extreme and to Blow and to other drivers similar to it. So not going to cover too much about it, except it does have rubber on it, and it's in this nice kind of translucent purpley kind of plastic. So there you go. There you have Killer Death Scyther. Really cool looking Beyblade. Now, next up here, we're going to take a look at A Beyblade that has a very unique feature in the God Layer system, that being the idea of combination, which we're going to take a look at right now. First off, we're going to take a look at the first part of this Beyblade, which is called Duo Apollos. So here he is, Duo Apollos. Now, Duo Apollos, history behind this Beyblade is that this was part of a design contest, where Beyblade fans could submit a design to Takara Tomy, and they would make it into a real product. And that's how this Double God Bay, or Duo Eclipse, was born. So there's a little history lesson of that. So this was a fan-made Beyblade. This isn't even made by Takara Tomy. Well, it is made by Takara Tomy, but the original design isn't from Takara Tomy's designers themselves. It was made by a fan, whose name I do not remember, and neither do I want to bother trying to pronounce, because it is Japanese. And I don't want to, make any kind of grammatical errors with that, because, obvious reasons. But anyway, so there we have Duo Apollos, pretty nice design, based on Apollo, the god of the sun in Greek mythology. So we can see the kind of sun design with the sun up in the corner, the top left-hand corner. We got the face of Apollo staring at you there. We got the chip. We got these kind of like sword kind of designs and these little rays of light that are coming from the sun. So really cool design of Duo Apollos. Really cool looking Beyblade there. Now, also, we get its other counterpart, which is also right spin, and this guy is a defense type, by the way. Then we have its other counterpart, which is Duo. What is it called? Duo Artemis. That's it. Duo Artemis. There you go. There's Duo Artemis there. So they have Apollos and Artemis there together. So you have the sun and the moon. Now, Artemis was the goddess of the hunt. Also, she was the god of the moon in Greek mythology. So very, very cool Beyblade. As you can see, it does have these sort of moon designs and these kind of sigils going around it. Looks very nice. Again, the foil stickers on here are chipped up due to use, so I do apologize. But there you go. There you have the layer there. Now, actually, these two Beyblades do combine, but we do get some pieces in this. We get the 7 and Star Disc, respectively, and the 7 disc is painted black on this one, which is quite nice. And lastly, we get this really nice-looking silverish kind of color of the recolor of the Unite driver. So really nice to see. Now to get on to this whole combination gimmick that I was kind of putting off until now. So these two Beyblades can combine into one Beyblade. I'm going to show you guys that right now. So you see the God chips in there, right? Those can technically combine into one chip in the form of, well, this chip here. So we have this God chip here as well that we get in the set. This is initially a Koro release as well. I forgot to mention that the original way to get Duo Apollo / Double God Bay Duo Eclipse, the only way to get it was through Koro magazine. However, there was an Amazon listing of this Beyblade, and that's how I got a hold of it. But as you can see, there is the combined God chip that's going to be used for the combination. So you can see it kind of has the design of Apollos' spikes with Artemis's kind of moon, kind of wind crescents on it, which is really cool. So now to get on to this whole combination. So you take both layers here, like so, and we take like so. Take both layers there, and we remove the God chips. We take the God chips using this tool here, and we push them out. So take them, remove the chip, push them out. Now, each of these layers will split in half, like so. So you take the layers, split them in half. Now, you take this half and this half, and you slide them together. And then you take the God chip, and you snap it in place, and then you lock the chip in, like so. And then there you go. There you have Duo Eclipse, which I love how this looks with the sun and the moon kind of meshing together. Now, sadly, these pieces don't do anything. You just basically put them to the side. which is kind of a shame. But thankfully, their evolutions that we got in Cho Z remedied this little issue. At least their Hasbro versions did, with these little leftover issue. Oh, and also, the other God ships here don't do anything. They're left to the side. And there you go. Then you can put on 7-star a Unite, and there you have your proper Duo Eclipse. Really cool looking Beyblade, really awesome Beyblade. If you can get a hold of it on Amazon, there probably is a listing for it, so definitely check your Amazon. Definitely check on Amazon to see if it's still available, if you want to get your hands on it. Because this Beyblade is starting to become increasingly rare now. So definitely get it if you can get it, if you can manage to get a hold of it. Because its combination gimmick is really, really interesting, and something I've never really seen in Beyblade Burst before. So really nice to see something neat come out of the God Layer system. Besides, obviously, the other Beyblades that we're going to see here. So next off in this sort of next segment here, we're going to look at another defense type introduced in the God Layer system. That being Blast Genius. So Blast Genius is based off of a genie, respectively. As you guys can see, this sort of Jinn or genie head there, you can kind of see this little magic kind of pixie dust going around it. And then you can see its kind of ghostly kind of tail looming over there, which does look really nice. Now, the whole gimmick with Blast Genius is its defensive gimmick, where when it gets hit or when it's spun in battle, this little blue ring will move upwards, creating this sort of column of wind kind of effect that's supposed to raise up these points and is supposed to make it more difficult to burst, which is a really cool function. I do like this gimmick a lot. It's very subtle, but it definitely does some nice effects in terms of battle performance. So there you have the layer of Blast Genius. Really cool looking layer. Now, another little fun fact is that this was my very first God Layer Beyblade I ever received. Hasbro or Takara Tomy. This was my first one, Blast Genius. So next, we do have the parts here. We get the 5-disc, which is new to Genius, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe this was new to Genius, was the 5-disc. And the 5-disc looks pretty nice. As we can see, it has these little shapes in there that are shaped like the number 5 on the top and the bottom there. And we have a 5 etched into the tabs there. And once again, we do see Glaive again in white. There ain't much else to say other than it does have some nice defensive properties with these little spikes and sort of rounded shape. And then we get the guard driver in this. So the guard driver's basic function is that basically in battle, this little plastic ring is supposed to function as kind of like a stopper, kind of like a brake, to kind of stop the Beyblade from getting knocked out, because this little ring will come up and stop it before it can get knocked over. So kind of a cool function of guard. Do like that driver. And again, we get it in this nice kind of blue color to accent the top of Genius. So really, really nice. And I think we're going to do one more Beyblade, and then we're actually going to have to make this into multiple... I think we're going to have to make this into maybe even a part 3, maybe even part 4. Because good God, there are a lot of Beyblades to look at here. So next up here, we're going to kind of breeze through this last one here for this part of the video, or this part of the review. We're going to take a look at God Valkyrie here. This is a recolor of God Valkyrie, as we can see. Nice green color of the layer. Really nice to see. We also get to see the return of 4 and Glaive with this model. And we also get a return of the Flugel driver, which is really, really nice in this nice green color. So there you have that. That is God Valkyrie there, the recolor. Alright guys, so I think that's going to end part 2 of this video review. If you guys want to see the rest of the collection, aka a possible part 3, part 4, maybe even part 5, depends on how quick I can actually get through the remainder of this collection. Please make sure to let me know in the comment section below. Drop a like on this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to notifications on. And I will see you guys tomorrow with possibly part 3 to this video series. Since this was totally unexpected, guys, but definitely I think you guys will want to see the rest of this. But thank you guys so much for watching.